I never thought firewood would become the center of a neighborhood Cold War. But that was before Linda from the HOA discovered my oak pile. I live in a quiet cul-de-sac where nothing dramatic ever happens, except when Linda decides the rules need interpretation. She was the kind of HOA enforcer who wore clipboards like weapons and spoke exclusively in passive-aggressive smiles. Her voice alone could wilt grass. My firewood sat neatly stacked beside my garage, cut and seasoned for winter. I'd spent 2 full weekends splitting it myself. That mattered, because on Monday morning I noticed something missing. At first I thought I miscounted. By Wednesday I knew better. Logs were disappearing, not rolling away, not borrowed, stolen. I set up a cheap security camera facing the pile. The next morning, there it was. Linda, in full yoga gear, casually strolling up my driveway like she owned it. She bent down, selected 3 logs like she was shopping for avocados, and walked off without a glance. I confronted her that afternoon. "Oh, that wood?" she said, eyes wide with fake innocence. "I assumed it was communal. It wasn't labeled." "Linda," I replied, "it's next to my garage." "Well," she sniffed, "HOA rules say shared resources should be clearly defined." There was no rule like that. She knew it. I knew it. But arguing with Linda was like yelling at a printer. It just made things worse. So I labeled the pile. Big sign. Private property, do not take. The next day, more wood vanished. I emailed the HOA board. They replied 2 weeks later with a form letter reminding residents to foster neighborly cooperation. That's when I stopped being cooperative. If Linda wanted my firewood so badly, I'd give her something special. I spent the next weekend crafting decoy logs, lightweight hollow shells that looked exactly like real oak. Inside, I packed them with the most harmless chaos imaginable. Spring-loaded party poppers, biodegradable glitter, compressed smoke capsules, and a scent pouch that smelled like burnt marshmallows and gym socks. Nothing dangerous, nothing illegal, just deeply embarrassing. I mixed the prank logs into the stack, carefully spacing them like landmines of humiliation. Then I waited. On Monday morning, my camera caught Linda again. Same stroll, same confidence. She grabbed 2 logs, then paused. One slipped from her hands and hit the driveway. Pop! A cloud of neon pink smoke erupted. Glitter sprayed everywhere. Linda screamed like the apocalypse had arrived. She dropped the second log. Pop! More smoke, more glitter. The smell hit seconds later. She stood frozen, coated in sparkles, coughing, spinning in circles while neighbors peeked through blinds. I sipped my coffee and smiled. This war had officially begun. The next morning, I thought maybe the pink-glittered spectacle had scared Linda off. Maybe she'd finally accept my firewood was mine and leave me alone. Ha! I was naive. By 8:15 a.m., I received an email from the HOA. Subject line, urgent, neighborhood incident. The body contained 3 words I would never forget. Excessive glitter exposure. That was surprisingly accurate. I chuckled, then peeked out the window. There she was, Linda, wearing what looked like 3 sweaters, 2 pairs of gloves and sunglasses at dawn, inspecting the driveway like a forensic investigator. Her face was a mix of fury and humiliation. She stomped over to my front yard, dragging a clipboard like it was a weapon. I went outside, smiling innocently, sipping my now cold coffee. "Morning, Linda," I said, waving. "Beautiful day for logs." "Do you think this is funny?" she barked, glitter still clinging to her shoes. "This is harassment. The HOA has rules, rules I will enforce." I leaned casually against the porch railing. "I thought you liked my firewood." She didn't laugh. She glared. Then she did something unexpected. She disappeared behind the hedge, only to reappear a minute later with a stack of her own logs. Not just normal logs. These were suspiciously shiny, pristine, weirdly perfect. "You're not the only one with creativity," she said, eyes gleaming. "I made my own batch, carefully engineered for maximum impact." Before I could react, she planted 1 log on the edge of my driveway. I glanced at it. It was heavier than it looked, faintly humming. Something told me this log would not pop glitter. I backed up slowly. The next hour turned into chaos. Linda began placing her logs in subtle, unpredictable locations around my yard. Every time I approached one, it emitted a puff of colored smoke, a squeaky alarm, or a harmless but incredibly startling noise. Some logs even released a foul but not dangerous smell of old gym socks, strategically timed. Neighbors began peeking from windows, whispering about the ongoing log feud, while I ducked behind a bush trying to figure out her patterns. It became clear. Linda wasn't just taking firewood anymore, she was escalating. And I realized something crucial. I needed a plan. Not just for pranking, but for surviving a full-blown HOA assault without losing my dignity or my sanity. I sipped my coffee again. The driveway looked like a psychedelic battlefield. Glitter drifted in the morning sun, smoke swirled like a cartoon storm, and my neighbor's cat was hiding under the hedge, glaring judgmentally at both of us. This was war, and it was only Monday. By Tuesday, my quiet cul-de-sac had transformed into something resembling a chaotic circus. Glitter swirled in the breeze, multicolored smoke hovered over the lawns, and the faint stench of burnt marshmallows meets gym socks lingered in the air. I had underestimated Linda's determination. She was no longer just taking firewood, she was treating it like an art installation, a weaponized craft project designed to ruin my mornings. Each log she placed had a personality. One screeched when touched, another sprayed confetti with the subtlety of a water hose, and one, oddly sticky, clung to anything it contacted. I spent hours studying the patterns. Each time I approached a log, I felt like a secret agent defusing a booby trap in a cartoon movie. Only in my case, the trap smelled weird, squeaked, and left glitter in my hair. Then inspiration hit. If she could escalate, so could I. I spent the evening constructing a new batch of logs. This time, they were more elaborate. Some contained harmless smoke bombs that emitted rainbow clouds shaped like smiley faces. Others released soft squeaks in the shape of barking dogs whenever lifted. I even created one that, when picked up, would harmlessly spring open and spill biodegradable slime. Nothing dangerous, but everything designed to make her question her life choices. I strategically mixed these into my stack, sprinkling a few in obvious spots and hiding others where only a persistent hand would find them. It was perfect. A whimsical booby trap garden. The next morning, Linda appeared, clipboard at the ready, wearing her usual full armor of gloves, sweaters, and sunglasses. She approached my yard, squinting at the first log. Her face shifted from determination to confusion as it released a puff of rainbow smoke in the shape of a smiley face. "What?" she muttered, waving her hands through the smoke. I stifled a laugh behind the hedge. She lifted another log, and it squeaked like a baby seal. She jumped, dropped it, and fumbled for her clipboard. I realized at that moment. We had officially entered next-level prank territory. Neighbors peeked from windows, some filming with their phones, whispering about the firewood feud. The street had become a spectacle of harmless chaos, and I was secretly thrilled. Linda didn't give up. She adjusted her tactics, lifting logs with tongs and wearing extra layers, clearly preparing for a week-long siege. But my new logs were designed to adapt. Each one unpredictable, each one a little piece of harmless mischief. By noon, our driveway was a rainbow and glitter war zone. Smoke swirled, slime sat in small puddles, and squeaks echoed off the fences. I sipped my coffee, taking in the surreal beauty of our neighborhood battlefield. It was clear. The HOA, Keran and I were evenly matched, and I knew the feud wouldn't end here. Not while either of us still had a sense of humor or a stack of prank logs. The question was, who would crack first? By midweek, our cul-de-sac looked like a post-apocalyptic party store. Rainbow smoke drifted between cars, glitter coated every surface, and the faint smell of burnt marshmallows mixed with gym socks lingered in the air. Some neighbors had started leaving cookies and hot chocolate on their porches, apparently enjoying the spectacle. Others shook their heads, muttering about the HOA chaos. I realized two things. One, Linda was relentless, And two, I was running out of ideas for harmless but escalating log pranks. And yet, part of me admired her dedication. She wasn't backing down, and somehow, that made this feel like a ridiculous but strangely thrilling competition of creativity. I brewed a cup of coffee, stared at the glitter-strewn driveway, and considered my options. We could continue this whimsical war indefinitely, or I could end it on a high note. I decided on the latter. That evening, I prepared the ultimate peace offering log. I filled it with confetti, biodegradable glitter, a harmless rainbow smoke capsule, and a little note inside that read, "Truce, signed, your firewood nemesis." The next morning, I left the log strategically on the top of the stack, obvious but inviting. Then I hid behind the hedge, sipping my coffee, ready for the reaction. Linda approached cautiously. She picked up the log, and the rainbow smoke puffed out, enveloping her like a gentle cloud. Confetti rained down. She froze, holding the log carefully, and then noticed the note. Her eyes scanned the words. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, she cracked a smile. Not the fake, passive-aggressive one, but a genuine, slightly embarrassed grin. I think we might have gotten a little carried away," she admitted, looking around at the glitter-covered driveway, the slime puddles, and the rainbow smoke curling toward the sky. I stepped out from the hedge, holding my coffee like a truce flag. "Agreed. Maybe next winter we just split the logs?" Linda laughed, a sound that was surprisingly satisfying after a week of escalating chaos. "Fine," she said. "But next time, I pick the logs first." We shook hands, carefully to avoid glitter, and the tension dissolved. Over the next hour, we worked together to clean up the driveway, laughing at the ridiculousness of our battle. Neighbors came out, some taking selfies with the sparkling, smoke-filled scene. The HOA, bless them, filed a report about mysterious, colorful smoke incidents and declared the cul-de-sac a zone of artistic mischief. From that day on, whenever winter came, Linda and I would actually share firewood. Sometimes we'd sneak a harmless prank log into the stack just for nostalgia, but only the soft, funny kind, the kind that made you laugh, not run. And so the great firewood feud of Maple Street ended, not with explosions, threats, or grudges, but with glitter, smoke, laughter, and a very unlikely friendship. The moral? Sometimes the best way to win is to turn chaos into comedy, and maybe invest in some extra coffee. Enjoying this wild firewood feud story? Hit that subscribe button to catch more hilarious neighborhood antics. Give this a like if it made you laugh and drop a comment below. What's the funniest prank you've ever pulled or witnessed?